is your call to action. Get prepared, America. Economy, survival, energy, disasters. This is USAPrepares.com. Informative radio, educational radio. Interact now by emailing instructor@USAPrepares.com or text at 434-390-7953. Class, please take your seats. Now, your instructor, Vincent Finelli.
Watch the greenbacks tumble.
Everyone all set? Cocked? Locked? Here we go. You dial set correctly to USAPrepares.com. And there's a link to your instructors at USAPrepares.com. Converging threats are confronted daily. I'm Vincent Finelli. Dave's producing the broadcast, the worldwide broadcast at Genesis Communications Network. Today we're going to learn about a natural disaster, Hurricane Sandy. You know that it pummeled the East Coast. And as you know, you saw the images on the internet and on the television. Well, today's class is you're going to hear what really happened, what it was really like for those who were in the path of Hurricane Sandy as it hit New York City, Manhattan Island. Yes, New York City is an island with 7 bridges. The only way in and out, unless you're going to travel by boat or by air, 7 bridges. You've heard that there are over 150 of us here at USAPrepares.com, doctors and PhDs and farmers and authors and radio personalities and researchers and students rising to become instructors. Today, you're going to meet our newest instructor, Linus Ertley. Now, Linus is an insurance adjuster, and he was there just after Hurricane Sandy. Welcome, Linus.
Hey, Vincent. Thanks for having me.
You know, Linus, it's great having you here on the broadcast classroom with us, and I enjoy seeing you every Monday at the meetup. And I wanted to share how important this is, that why we do these meetups and why we talk about them on the air. I was criticized by a network owner at one time who said, you know, Vinny, you do a local show, you know, you talk about the meetups, you talk about, you know, Springfield. And I said, no, you don't understand. The reason that I talk about this is we're leading by example. There's a group of people who are sharing their ideas, their opinions, their knowledge, their skills, their expertise, and it can be done everywhere. And we're just saying that we're just doing it in a little community called Springfield, Missouri. And we want others to do the same thing. And Linus, that's exactly what's happening right here, right now, today. We are sharing what we do as a meetup group, as an expo, and you rose to the top to become an instructor, and you wanted to share with us what you learned as an insurance adjuster at New York City, Manhattan Island. And I think this is going to be an eye-opener for many people who are going to hear firsthand from you what it was really like, what you really saw in the path of a natural disaster. And it truly was a disaster, wouldn't you say?
Oh, yeah. It was. I'm from a small town in Missouri and Oklahoma, and when I went to New York for the first time, it was a culture shock. And I want to say, first off and foremost, the people of New York were great. I mean, they were very hospitable. Everybody was nice, considering what they'd been through. There was no. I thought it would be worse than it was as far as how they would act, given what they'd been through. Very good people, and they all stuck together.
Linus, let me see if I can. Let me see if I can understand what you're saying. I think what you're saying is that you weren't there the very second that the storm was over. I mean, the second it was over, you were on your way, but they had to wait a little bit for you. And it's like what you're saying, I believe, is that they didn't beat you up because you were the first person there representing restoration. They were nice to you.
That's pretty much the case. I mean, whenever I would start calling folks, telling them who I was and where I was coming from. And understandably, they were like, hey, we wanted you here yesterday, But and I'm like, hey, I'm coming from the Midwest. It's going to be a day of travel. There's nowhere to stay. There was no gas for several days, so I couldn't just show up. So
well, let's talk about that, Linus. So you're here in Springfield area, Missouri, 1,100 miles away from New York City. You got a call. What was that call like?
Basically, they said you're going to go to Long Island. Get your flood boots.
Yeah.
I mean, well, that's just how it is. But I mean, I knew that going into it. But they call after a disaster, and you get a list of claims. You just go in, you start calling folks, saying who you are and how much water's in your house, or what kind of damage do you have, that kind of thing. Kind of prioritize it that way. Of course, everybody there had lots of water, and I just let them know, hey, I'm on my way. It's going to be a day before I get there, and then I'll just start coming into the city. And I checked on different rooms in different places, and Long Island, which is Brooklyn and Queens, is on Long Island. It was $150 a night was the cheapest room I found, and they were full.
Wow!
So I had to go.
We're not used to that, are we?
No, not used to that. That's I thought, wow. Well, okay, understandable. That's why I called ahead of time, and so I called into the Newark area, and they were full. So I stayed a little bit out of the Newark area, but not 30, 45 minutes from Brooklyn. And I found a place there for around $50 a night. So it was a lot cheaper, but I had to drive. But my attitude is, okay, I don't mind doing that for people to help them out because what they've been through. I'll drive for a half hour to get there every day. That's fine. I didn't mind doing that at all. And when I got into the city, Brooklyn, Queens area, I knew, wow, culture shock. So once I was there, the people were so nice. I thought, wow, you guys are just awesome. I thought it would be a lot different. They were actually pretty nice, but it was definitely an eye-opener as far as what I saw and how people were not prepared because nobody expected it to be that bad.
Linus, New York City is a couple feet above sea level, and literally a couple feet above sea level, and the subways are below sea level. So when the water came in, that was a problem because it would go to, water naturally goes to the lowest point. Well, the subways were flooded. The power was out in many places. Traffic lights weren't working. I understand that even some of the bridges were closed, so people could not leave the city. Did you see that?
I didn't see any closed bridges when I was there, but there was a lot of traffic, so that may have been because of some bridges that were closed. I didn't go into Manhattan. That was a little bit more north. I stayed on the south side of the city, which is Queens and Brooklyn, for those that don't know. That's where I was, and I was very careful not to deviate off of that path because once you do, if you don't have a GPS, you're going to get lost. So there I was, and I didn't try to go sightseeing or anything like that. But there may have been a few bridges that were closed. I think the Brooklyn Bridge was closed for a few days while I was there, and that would definitely cause more traffic in other places. So it was a pretty crowded place.
One of the gals that came to the Get Prepared Expo, Brooklyn Bagwell, is from Doomsday Preppers, and she was doing a casting call at the expo, and she said a bridge was closed, and you just really couldn't get in or out. I mean, you were trapped for a short time there, and she said it was quite frightening. Now, you were mentioning gasoline. Now, Was there a gas shortage, or was there a gas outage, or what was that like?
Well, it was both. I mean, they had, when I was there, they were rationing gas. And by even license plate numbers and odd, this is your day if you're even, tomorrow is your day if you're odd. And some places were doing a 5-gallon maximum because of the shortages. It was hard for trucks to get in because of everything to resupply the gas. I saw a lot of folks waiting in line, standing there with their gas cans and other containers to get their gas for their vehicles or generators and things like that. And they were using water containers. I saw one guy had a 5-gallon clear container you would use in a water cooler, like for the office.
Yeah, you're talking about a 5-gallon carboy is what they're called, yeah.
Yeah, he had one of those, and he was putting gas in it. And I thought, wow.
Yeah, that's an unapproved container. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. And over in Jersey was the same way. They were rationing gas, and this is where I saw this gentleman with his carboy, you call it, right? The 5-gallon
carboy.
Yeah, carboy. He had that, and he had like 4 or 5-gallon jugs in his trunk. He filled his gas tank up. There were people, with milk jugs trying to get gas. And in New Jersey, you can't pump your own gas. They have someone do it for you.
Mm-hmm.
So I did see a few people sneak in there and just do it anyway. And they would, it was pretty wild. And in New York, I guess you pump your own gas there, but it was about $1 a gallon higher.
So that'd be 25% higher or 33% higher.
It was about $3.50 a gallon in Jersey. $3.30, $3.50 a gallon. It varies a lot too. Not like here. It varies. I mean, you can look at one gas price, $3.45, and right across the street it'd be like $3.69. I mean,
wow,
100 feet away. I never understood that. It's not like that here. But,
yeah, not like Springfield, Missouri. We price fix in Springfield. It's the same price all over town.
yeah, within a penny. Yeah, it's just right there. Yeah, it's very, very consistent.
Linus is with us, Linus Ertley. We're talking about what he saw, Hurricane Sandy on the East Coast in Manhattan and New Jersey, and we're going to get deep into it, and I think you're going to be surprised at what he found. This is USAPrepares.com. I'm Vincent Finelli, and you're going to want to be more prepared after you hear this broadcast classroom. We'll be right back. Linus Ertley's with us, and we're talking about Hurricane Sandy. And Linus, you had mentioned gas lines. Now, did you say that in New York City you could not get gasoline for vehicles in New York City?
Off and on. I never pumped gas there because it was just too high. So I stayed in Jersey and just filled up there. But there were times there was just no gas, and they would just have it closed off. No gas. Move on. There was they have gas stations on the Beltway that goes from Staten Island over into Brooklyn, and then it runs on the south part of Long Island. I think it's 278. In the middle of the medians and places, they had little gas stations, and you can it's like an exit. You just pull off, but you're in the median or the middle of the highway there, and you can get gas. So it's a convenient spot when there's gas, but when there's not gas, you have to keep moving. But there were lines. There were lines I saw coming in from Queens going back. They were probably a mile long, literally, of cars. Maybe 2 miles long, just cars sitting there waiting for gas, all in the left lane, waiting for gas. And it was pretty wild, and I felt sorry for people that ran out of gas, because I saw that a lot too. Because you know that because they're walking from their car with their gas cans, so that's how you know. But
yeah,
it was quite the deal. I've never seen anything like that.
Yeah, I did during the Arab oil embargo many, many years ago. They had odd, even rationing, and people would go to the gas station hours before it opened up, and the line would be maybe 100 cars long at that time. It'd be dark. People would be getting in line when it was dark before the gas stations even opened in the morning. And they would have limits, and you could only buy based on the last digit of your license tag, odd or even, and the prices went up a little bit, and then they went up a little bit more, and then if you were a regular customer of that gasoline station, what people would do is this is when they were called service stations, so. People would pull in. They'd say, "Listen, I'd like to get my car tuned up," because they would only sell gasoline for a few hours, and then they'd shut down the pumps. And so, if you would buy a tune-up, then after the tune-up, in order to make sure your car was operating properly, they'd fill up the tank for you. Of course, you'd have to pay for that too. But what I'm saying is, there are ways of getting around the system, and that's kind of the thing that happened. So. Linus, the lines that I saw, a lot of people in lines carrying just gasoline cans. Obviously, they had run out, and they were carrying 2, 3, 4, cans back with them. And what a nuisance, right? So the question is, why didn't they get gas the night before? How did that happen? I mean, were they not paying attention? Did they not know this was going to happen? Why didn't they get gas before?
Well, people are just, when you're complacent in that way, whenever you live in a city and your routine is to get gas, when you need it, and it'll be there tomorrow, it'll be okay, and it's just a routine that people get into, and that's fine. But the problem is that routine got broken when Sandy hit, and there was no more gas. No power pump gas, or when everybody did get gas, they were out, and they couldn't get new trucks in for new gas. So it was a lot of that going on, and people just get so used to their way of life, and they do the same thing every day, and they get gas at a certain time, and they'll get more when they have an eighth of a tank. They'll go fill it up again. It's like, well, you need to have more than an eighth of a tank when you need gas would be the best thing, because there may not be gas next time. Or you may have to wait, or you may have to drive from Flushing, New York into Newark, New Jersey, like I did, with a little bit of gas left and lost, practically, and then you really get worried.
You're absolutely right. In New York City, back in the 1970s, I'd graduated college, and I had a job offer from Shearson, Hayden Stone, a brokerage house. And the interview was over, and I was on the street at 4:30 in the afternoon, getting ready to come back home. And it was dark, and I said, you know what? I don't think I like this. I really don't think I like this. So I never became a stockbroker, because I didn't like how dark it got in New York City at 4:30 in the afternoon, because the sunlight doesn't hit the street. Vin Finelli, Linus Ertley. We're going to talk more about what he saw, Hurricane Sandy, on the East Coast, New York City, New Jersey. We'll be right back. Linus Ertley is with us, and we're talking about Hurricane Sandy and what he saw on the ground as an insurance adjuster. Linus, I want to share this with you. I've noticed that there is a tremendous difference in the way those who live in the city prepare versus those who are in the country. For example, I live in the country on a farm, and in the city, you can get pretty much everything you want 24 hours a day. But as a farmer, I can't. I live, the nearest shopping place that I can go to, even a small city, is over a 50-mile round trip, and so. Even, let me just give you an example. For me, I checked, and I was down to my last spare oil filter for one of our trucks. Now, I wasn't out of them. I had one left that I hadn't used yet. Now, I had a choice. I could buy them for $13 each, or I could buy a case of 12 for $60, which would be $5 each, shipped. So, obviously, I bought the case of 12, and that's the way I live my life. Now, as we look at that, what did you see in New York City? Does what I just shared tie with what you saw as as the level of preparedness in the city, you don't have to prepare because, well, heck, you just go to the store and get it because it's always open.
Yeah, that's how they think. That's what they're used to, and that's fine as long as it's working. That's okay. But yeah, and I didn't see any large grocery stores in Brooklyn, Queens area. They're probably out there, but the ones I saw were the little mom and pop shops that were about the size of a convenience store, maybe, and they had a little bit of everything in there, and there's hundreds of those. But there's not one big place, so there's not much room in these places. And it's interesting you say that because I was talking with somebody in Brooklyn, and they like to talk. They like to talk, and that was cool. But we were talking about prices, and I told them where I was from and what the prices were like and everything. And I said, how much is a gallon of milk here in New York City? And this person looked at me for a second and looked down and went, a gallon. Well, that's the big one, right? Like, yeah. Okay. So, and it's just that's just how it is there. I guess they do a half a gallon at a time because their kitchens are smaller and they have smaller refrigerators. A lot of them, I noticed that. Not everybody, but a lot of them. Everything was just scaled down. So they couldn't buy a gallon of milk and a gallon of orange juice and 5 pounds of sugar or whatever. They had to make, half a gallon. I'll go back to the store in 2 days and get another half a gallon. And that's fine when it works. But when it doesn't work, you run out. And then the panic sets in, and then there you go.
I'm still chuckling from that's the big one.
Well, I didn't want to laugh. I kind of did that day because if nothing was bad, I just thought, wow, yeah, the big one.
I'm trying to think, Linus, where we live, in the Ozarks. I think that if you were to buy milk, you would be hard-pressed to find a large supply of anything but gallons, right? I mean, yeah, they do sell it by the quart, but I don't know anybody who buys it by the quart because it's more expensive per fluid ounce if you buy it by the quart. Yeah.
They don't buy in bulk. It's just, like here, we have big grocery stores and dairy farms and places like that, and we're more spread out. And our houses are bigger, too, mostly. The average house in the Brooklyn area, Queens area where I was, which is right along Jamaica Bay, which is by JFK Airport, right there on the beach, if you will, or the coast. It's not like a beach in Florida. It's more like a neighborhood, very, very tight neighborhood. But they were... I lost my train of thought now.
Well, you're talking about size of houses.
Yeah, the size of the houses there are, a lot smaller because of that. They're so close together. I touched 2 houses at the same time. I've never done that before. But everything is just so different there that they just, that's how they are. Everything is on a smaller scale. Their yards, if they have any, they'll have a car, maybe not, because there's no room. And they commute with, subway or, whatever to go into the city, things like that. Whereas here we have a bigger, we have 3-acre yards and, farms and stuff like that. We have bigger houses, bigger kitchens, and bigger refrigerators. We can put a gallon of milk in the fridge and we can store more food and we can just it's just bigger things. It costs more that way, but it does and it doesn't. Kind of depends on how you look at it.
Yeah, it costs more when you buy it, but it costs less per unit of the purchase. You're absolutely right. As a matter of fact, Linus, there are, you were talking about houses where you can just put your arms out and touch 2 houses at the same time, one with each hand. If you went into the city, you could touch 2 buildings with one finger, with the tip of one finger. I mean, they are literally touching each other, and there's no space between them. So you put they're packed in there. I was on Coney Island, which is Brooklyn, basically, and I was trying to find this address, and my GPS said, here it is. And of course, it was like a block off because everything's so tight. It could be off by that much. And so I finally find this house, and it was
don't know what you call it. It was one big, long building. It was probably, I'd say, at least 100, 150 feet long. And it was like a house all together on one building, like a townhouse, I guess you could call it, or whatever. 2-story building. So I looked at the number, and I thought, okay, there's the house number. So I go up, and I'm kind of looking around, and they come out, and I say hi. I told them who I was, and I said, okay, so is this your house? and I said, okay, so what all do you own here? Do you own this whole building? And they said, I own it right here. Right. And she took her finger and put it to the brick on the front of the house, and went from here and walked over to the other side, past the front door, past the living room windows, to the other side of the brick, and went to there. And I was like, oh. And then the vinyl siding starts. That's my neighbor's house. I was like, oh, okay. So you own the brick part, and then that's your property line. And I looked down, and sure enough, the brick and the fence were together. And as soon as the brick stopped, the vinyl siding would start, or a different, wall covering, whatever would start. That's somebody else's house, and there would be a fence right there between the two. I mean, touching the brick, touching the vinyl siding or whatever, and that's the property line. It was just, I was like, oh, this is your little spot here. Oh, okay. Then you go inside, and it's maybe 50 feet long. It was like a real long but narrow type deal. So,
yeah, about 13 feet. Yeah, there are a lot of those in the cities.
Yeah.
And sometimes they're called row houses. Sometimes they're called townhouses. And it's like one big, long building with dividing walls. And sometimes they're 13 feet wide and 50 feet long and 2 stories. So, and in between them, between one house and their neighbor, is a firewall. So actually, there's a common wall between, your place and the neighbor on the left, and your place and the neighbor on the right, and your property line is right in the middle of the wall, because you get half the wall and they get half the wall that divides your properties. So and you're absolutely right. It's way different from what we're used to. Class, Springfield, Missouri is a city that's low and spread out. I mean, it's really, really spread out. It's not tall. There are a few tall buildings, very, very few, but most of it is very low and really spread out. So, if you need to go from one place to another, you're probably not going to be able to walk. You really want to be able to either hop on a bus or drive in Springfield, Missouri. But where you're talking about, people would walk more and take public transportation for a lot of their local travel. So we talked about gas lines. Let's talk about water. Did you see? Because of the power outage, there was a lot of contamination of the water, and water wasn't drinkable, wasn't potable. So what happened? What did people do? Did they have water?
Well, for the most part, no. I mean, of course, there was no utilities. They were all cut off because, for safety. But, no, I mean, the people in New York did come together, a lot of them, and they were checking on each other, saying, hey, I know somebody with a car. They're going to go into, the city or, upstate somewhere or whatever to get food and water. And they would come back. And people from, like, Upper Manhattan that didn't get as affected by Sandy as the folks down in Brooklyn and Queens, they had power. They didn't really get flooded as much. So they had power. They were able to make food and bring it down. And they were very good about that because, that, frankly, it surprised me because I thought this many people, and here they come to one of the most densely populated areas in the Western Hemisphere. They're coming in and helping each other. Mm-hmm. And I thought that's just really cool because I didn't expect to see it quite like that, but they were making sandwiches. They were bringing them in by the truckloads. I'm talking a pickup truck down into there and just start handing them out. Sandwiches and here's a bottle of water. I mean, but no, they didn't have a lot of things on hand. No, they because when they turn the water on, they have tap water. They have water. As soon as they turn the faucet on, they got it. Unless they have a hurricane. But
then they don't have it.
And then they don't have it. And they take it for granted. Now, and when I went to New York, I knew that's how it was going to be. I knew, you can watch TV and get some idea. Yeah, that's true. But you see it way, 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 way more in person. That's just how it is. So I knew it was going to be bad. So I think I had 5 cases of water with me in my car when I left. I left Springfield, Missouri with 5 cases of water in my car. I didn't wait to get there to buy it because I knew I wouldn't be able to. Sure enough, everybody was out. So I took it into the city. I never gave anybody any water. I was going to, but everybody seemed to be okay. They didn't really say anything about it. They were dirty. They couldn't do laundry. They couldn't cook. They were cold. They couldn't heat their homes because the gas was off, and they didn't have an alternate source. And, nobody burned firewood down there because there's no room hardly. I mean, a few big, nice houses maybe if you can afford it.
Linus is talking about what he saw. Hurricane Sandy. Linus Ertley, Vince Finelli, USAPrepares.com. They were cold. There was some snow. It was freezing. We'll talk about what they did when we come back. I just got an email from Grace, and I'll read it to you after the next hour, after the top of the next hour. Linus is with us, Linus Ertley, and we're talking about New York City, we're talking about Manhattan, we're talking about New Jersey, and what he saw. Linus, it was cold. It was cold, it was freezing, there was some snow. And what were people doing? Now, the power was out. Some people live in apartments. Some people live in tightly packed, very close together houses, small yards, huge density of population. What were they doing to stay warm with the power out and the gas off? Meaning natural gas.
Well, I'll tell you a little story about that. I'll answer that. It was probably my second or third day going into the city. I was kind of getting used to where I was going, kind of, and I was there, and it got dark on me, and I'm like, wow, it's dark out here in Brooklyn when there's no power. It's dark just like out in the country in Missouri.
Yeah, right. Yeah,
It looked about the same, except it was in Brooklyn. I mean, there were no lights anywhere. I mean, it was, parts of Brooklyn didn't lose power, but where I was, it was dark. So I'm like, wow. As I'm leaving, I see little fires everywhere. Everybody's out there building little fires, burning their furniture to keep warm because it'd already gotten wet, a lot of it, wet, and then it dried off, but it was already damaged from it. Was a saltwater deal, so it was trashed, so they didn't burn it. I saw a lot of people doing that, burning their end tables, coffee tables, doors, the hollow core interior door, they can burn that. Things like that, just to keep warm because inside the house was cold. There's no power. There's no heat. There's nowhere else to go. Your best bet is to go outside and build a fire. And I saw hundreds of little fires out there in Brooklyn. It was pretty wild. I never seen anything like that. I mean, I'm used to seeing fires in the country, but not that many, and not just for burning trash, but for folks to keep warm. That was eye-opening for sure. Wow.
Linus, I got to tell you, I cannot imagine a situation where the Finelli family would go into the living room and say, you know what, this one right here, this is good. Let's set this one on fire and take the chair out or take an end table or take a coffee table. I cannot imagine that because, a lot of us have heirlooms. A lot of us have antiques that have sentimental value, and just lighting that stuff on fire it's got to be a horrible moment in a person's life. Now, I'm sure that wasn't the case for everybody who burned their furniture, but geez, burning your furniture. Now, that really shows how desperate these individuals were to literally burn their furniture, because once they burn that chair, they're not going to be able to sit in it. So this is like the end of the line. What are they going to do after that? What's next? What are they going to burn after that?
See, that's the thing. I saw that. I thought the same thing. I thought, man, I don't know what. Boy, wow. I mean, it's sad to see that, and it's nobody's fault that it happened. But I mean, at the same time, it's like, with no power, and everyone's so used to having electricity and lights and their oil or their natural gas for their heat, and everything's fine. And I've said it before, but when that goes away, things change. and that happened there. When I saw that, I was speechless. I was by myself in my car, just going, "Oh my gosh!" I mean, these poor people. I mean, but at the same time, I will say this, and for those in New York, those folks are tough.
Yeah.
I wouldn't want to fight anybody from New York.
Hey,
I mean, they're city people, but they're tough, and they're resilient.
Linus, you know, well, shoot, when we come back on we're going into the top of the hour break. When we come back, let's talk some more about what you saw, of course. But you had enough gas to get out of Dodge. You could go home. You could just say, that's it. They couldn't. They were trapped. We'll talk more about being trapped and being prepared. What Linus saw. Linus Ertley, Vin Finelli, USAPrepares.com. We'll be right back. Everyone all set? Cocked? Locked? This is hour number 2 of USAPrepares.com. Your dial is set correctly. You can listen to us on AM and FM and internet radio, smartphones, podcasts, and Galaxy 19 satellite radio. Linus Ertley is with us, and he was at the aftermath of Hurricane Sandy in New York City on the island of Manhattan. And we've been talking about that for the first hour. So if you missed the first hour, you can go back to usaprepares.com, click on Listen to Vincent, GCN, and download the hour number 1 and listen to that. We've been talking about what he saw firsthand. Linus is a insurance adjuster. He's from Missouri, and Linus has been to a lot of our meetups. He's been attending our meetups for well over a year. He's been to the expos. He's in the community in the Ozark Mountains with us, and he has risen to become an instructor. He went from student to instructor, and this is his first broadcast with us at usaprepares.com. 2 hours. So Linus is starting with 2 hours. Not everybody does that. And I want to thank you, Linus, for being with us. I really do. Let's talk about the escape from New York City. Now, people couldn't do it. They couldn't escape from New York City, Linus, because that's their home. That's where they live. They were freezing in the aftermath of Hurricane Sandy, and they were burning their furniture. You said you saw hundreds of fires, small fires, for people who were burning their furniture to stay warm. Now, did you see people getting together like neighbors saying, I'll tell you what, instead of you burning your living room chairs, how about if we just burn one set at a time, and when we're done burning ours, then we'll go to burn yours, and we'll just all huddle around the same fire together. Did you see that?
Not really. I wasn't there for all that. I was leaving as I saw these fires that were at night as it got colder, because on about day 3, I don't remember the name check back down, a nor'easter hit the same area that Sandy hit a few days later. A nor'easter, just a snowstorm. And it was a heavy, wet snow, and it was cold, of course, and people were out of their homes, and that came. It's like, oh boy, here we go. Now it's cold again. Yeah. And before the hurricane hit, it wasn't that cold there. I wore a jacket. I never had to wear a coat at first. It got really cold. Got to put a heavy coat on, and yeah, these poor people didn't have it. The heat and things. The people of New York would band together that way, yes, and look out for each other, yes. I didn't see it personally because, like I said, whenever it got dark, I thought I need to leave. Because there were looters. I mean, there were the metal zombies, the looters, and those kinds of things. And when I say metal zombies, I mean after the flood came. Actually, it was a tidal surge. People were taking their washers, their dryers, their water heaters, ovens, whatever. The metal appliances, they got submerged in salt water. They're all trashed, and they were throwing them to the curb. Mm-hmm. And FEMA or the city had a deal to come by and pick it all up. Well, that stuff's worth money, so we would have people in their vans and their trucks with the trailers. Mostly it was just their van. I saw a guy with a van with the refrigerators on top, strapped down. That's how bad they wanted that metal. I'm thinking, wow. But they were taking the appliances away before an adjuster could get there to write the numbers down to pay for those items if they were covered. But those people would come out, and that's fine. But they weren't really supposed to do that. And there were looters. There were people going into people's backyards to find appliances that were set out and taking them. And that's a no-no anywhere you go. But they were doing that. Yeah. And the crime picked up at night, as it always does after something like that. So I wanted to leave. So I like your question, I didn't really see that firsthand. But I mean, I saw the campfires. I saw everybody together, neighbor. They were all together in a group with several fires with several people, because there's, like I said, there's so many people there. I mean, Brooklyn, New York is smaller than Springfield, Missouri, as far as the size of the city, the footprint. Springfield has 165,000 or so people. Brooklyn, New York has 2.5 million people. So if you put 2.5 million people in the city of Springfield, that's about how the population density is for Brooklyn. It's very tight together. That can be good. It can be bad. Depends on how you look at it. They were looking out for each other. I mean, they were very neighborly, if you will. I mean, everybody was, together helping each other out. They were very good about that. But at the same time, that brings in more crime, because there's so much more opportunity, because there's so many more people with so many more things.
Yeah, I think
about the same way.
I think the number's about 35,000 people per square mile. Is that about right?
Yeah, for Brooklyn, I think so, yeah. And Queens, it's like 25 or 28, I think, per mile. I looked at it here a while back. I think it's about where it is. It's a lot more than Springfield.
I'm thinking...
most other cities, by the way, so...
Linus, I'm thinking about this number, and I did a quick calculation. It'd be over 13,000 people on my farm.
Yeah.
There's only 100 people live in our entire town,
Yeah.
And, geez, I mean, that really is dense population. So crime was up. What about, I've been hammering on the point that don't wait for the government. Just don't wait for them, because you could die waiting for them. Is that what you saw, or did you see a lot of government help? Did you see the Red Cross? Did you see soup kitchens? Did you see organizations that you would expect to see there helping people, or did you just see the police?
At first, I didn't see hardly anybody, except the police were there. The police were all over. I mean, they had to be. I mean, or it would have been horrible. But they were directing traffic, and they were just making their presence known. I saw the National Guard. I saw the Hummers and the guys in camo. I saw that. I saw the Black Hawk helicopters just, flying around. But, I didn't see anything bad. I didn't see any riots or anything like that, although there were a few murders after the fact. I'd watch the news. I'd watch it to see what was going on, because I can get a good idea. Even though it's news, I can still watch it and get a sense. There were people there were fights and gas lines. I think somebody got shot in a gas line in New York waiting for gas. People fighting about, whatever. A few merchants were murdered. I think 2 or 3 different store merchants got murdered in Brooklyn, not far from where I was, where I would go. I thought, oh, man. And you can't take your gun into New York City legally. So I felt naked. I didn't have my gun with me. I had pepper spray, and I had a ball bat and a knife, which turns out those are also illegal in Brooklyn, or at least the pepper spray is, I guess. But I never had any problems personally in that regard. But I didn't see the Red Cross went after. I know somebody from here that went there with the Red Cross, and they left, I think, after I got back. I think they left toward the end of November. They were there to, for reinforcements, I guess, and all that. I don't know when the Red Cross got there. As far as any soup kitchens or anything goes, it took a few more days, like you said, and even like the government says, it's going to take us a few days to get there, and then it's going to take us a few days to get everything, to be out there. So they say get a plan for 4, 5, 6, 7 days to be on your own. And that's true, because for the first few days, no, I didn't really see much at all except for the police and the National Guard. And they had the schools in Brooklyn. I guess it was a school. I'm not sure what it was. Big. I don't remember what it was. It was a big building. Lines, and I guess it was like a shelter or there might have been some food inside. I saw some of the markets would reopen with no power, but they would reopen, which is pretty cool. And the food that they did have, or the food that they could get back, or delivered again, they would bring it in and set it out, and they were passing it out like a market style. I saw quite a bit of that, not a lot, but I saw some. And depending on where you go, you would see more or less, because there were some areas of Brooklyn that were just, there's no power, it's trash, there's sand everywhere, there's cars that are sideways and still halfway in the road that had 2 feet of water go through them. They're totaled, and they're just sitting there. It was horrible. For the first week and a half or so, it was chaos. There were stoplights in Brooklyn that were out, not blinking red, they were out. And there were no traffic cops directing traffic, nobody, nothing. It was on your own.
Linus,
and it was crazy. Go ahead.
Linus, in Springfield, Missouri, when there's a traffic light out, it's really clear what to do. You alternate between, as you enter the intersection, cars just alternate, and they seem to know the protocol
like
without being
stop.
Right, kind of like a four-way stop. Yes. Now, what was a four-way stop class? For those of you who are not familiar with that terminology, that'd be 4 stop signs at an intersection. So everybody comes to a stop, and you look and you figure out who's first and who's second, who's third. Now, is that what you saw in New York City, or was it every man for himself?
Every man for himself.
Wow. Okay.
And I'm not. It's not funny. I'm laughing at that, but I do have something I'll share with you that I found out what a New York second was. Now, when the lights are working, and this applies to New Jersey too. Now, I don't mean anything bad by anybody. That's just how it is. When you're the car in front, and the light's red, and you're sitting there, and you're the guy in front. And when that light turns green, the time it takes for when that light turns green until the guy behind you honks is a New York second. And let me tell you what, when your foot's on the brake and the light turns green and you think about, oh, okay, the light's green, I'm going to move my foot off the brake and move it over, honk. Honk. Okay, I'm moving over. you just have to go. I mean, you have to have some humor sometimes or you'll cry, It's just that's what I saw. I just thought, well, okay.
Linus is with us, our newest USAPrepares.com instructor, Linus Ertley. We'll be right back. Linus Ertley is with us, our newest USAPrepares.com instructor. He's an insurance adjuster from Missouri, Springfield area, and he went to New York City and New Jersey after Hurricane Sandy to help with insurance claims, and we're talking about what he saw. Linus, can we just take a minute, and I'm still chuckling over your definition of the New York second, and I think that's a term that's going to to circulate very quickly among USAPrepares.com students, instructors.
New York minute, and I haven't figured that one out yet. I'm not sure
maybe Maybe that's 2 New York seconds.
Yeah, probably.
hey, Linus, you have been to the USA Prepares meetups that we used to have them on Friday, and we've taken over Ziggy's, and it was such a problem that we had so many people that we'd mess up Ziggy's business because we would take over his entire restaurant. People would go and say, hey, I wanted to have a quiet meal, and can't have a quiet meal when we're there, right? So we moved it to Mondays, and there's still about 110 people that show up every Monday. Can you describe what a meetup is like for those who have not been to one?
Well, you see all walks of life, like you say. We have different professions there that do different things and have different ideas about this and that and the other. We all talk. When I get there, I'm a little early usually. I eat, talk with people. How you been doing? What's been going on? If I have a question for somebody else that they know something about, I'll ask them. Hey, I got a question for you. Whatever. We'll mingle. We'll it's like a fellowship thing before the meetups, and then the meetups, of course. Whatever we're doing that week. I like going to them because I get different angles of things that I hear about, or I get to hear it from another source, different stories, or like how to grow a garden. Okay, how do you grow a garden? And we can you have a seminar about that, and we get to learn an alternate way for alternate medicine, or whatever. It's just there's a lot to talk about. There's a lot there, and I think it's awesome that you do that.
Were you at the meetup we had at the Hy-Vee supermarket in Springfield? Were you at that one that we got kicked out of?
Yes, I was there. Yeah.
I'm really proud of that. I'm really proud of that. I mean, how many people do you know who have been able to get kicked out of a supermarket? 110 people, all getting kicked out. Now, Roy Birdsong did it. He, we did that little seminar. We thought, what should we do? We need to be real easy when we go to this new location because, it's a supermarket, and we can't have Mike Ma there because he'll be talking about killing people and, and negotiating for your life and the shootouts he's been in and that kind of stuff. So we can't do that. So what can we talk about that's kind of middle of the road and nobody will complain? So I asked Roy Birdsong if he would talk about the iPads and cell phones and how you can have cell phone service for $8 a month and make cell phone calls on Wi-Fi for free. And so that's what he did. And sure enough, he got us kicked out. And he thought I was kidding when I called him and I said, Roy, I can't believe it. You got us kicked out.
And that's from one person. One person complained and then got us kicked out.
Yeah, one person complained about us, and one guy said...
We have 110 people there on average, 100 people, let's say, and they each spend $100 by the time they eat there, buy groceries there, and there's a gas station there. So if they spend $100 every week there, times 100 people, that's $10,000 every Friday. That's $500,000 a year.
Yeah, they threw us out. Yeah, so you have to really do a good job to become a manager of a company like that and say, you know what? Hey, listen, boss, I just want to let you know I did it. We got rid of that $500,000 worth of sales a year. No problem.
Oh man, because that one person didn't like to hear about cell phones.
Yeah, he complained. He said, "You guys do that again. You ever do that again, I'm never coming back." So there we got the boot. And Roy Birdsong called up the store manager because he couldn't believe it when I said, "Hey, Roy, you got us kicked out." And he came back and said, "Hey, Vinny, you're right. I got you kicked out." Yep. Linus is with us, and I've got an email I want to read. When we come back, we'll be right back. We just heard a commercial with Eric Lancaster of Terraganics. He was at the Get Prepared Expo. And I wanted to tell you that Mrs. Finelli purchased some EM1, Effective Microbes 1, and she's going to be putting it in the gardens this weekend. So we purchase it just as you do. We don't get it for free. And I just want to let you know that we're gonna try it and let you know how well it works. And I believe it will work very well. And I wanted to share with you, Linus, you've been to the meetups for quite a while, well over a year. And I'd like to get your opinion about this email that I received. And this came in this morning during hour number 1. And I'm going to read it verbatim. It says, "Good morning, Vincent. I never miss your program and still love to hear your laugh. You're the only one on the radio that I hear that does that, and it gives me hope. All is not doom and gloom in the world." I think if I feel that way, many others do, too. What I want to ask you about is, could we meet Mrs. Finelli? I know she must be a character, too, if she lives with you. You sometimes mention her, but it's never anything personal. Would she consider being on the program with you? I'd love to hear the two of you together. At least tell her we're curious about her. Have a good day. Grace from Oklahoma. Now, the reason I wanted you to comment on this, Linus, you have seen Mrs. Finelli at the meetups, right?
Oh, yeah, we've talked.
Yeah. Can you imagine her going on the air?
Oh, no. No, she's kind of the opposite. She's kind of quiet and shy, kind of, you know.
So,
am I right?
You are absolutely right. And you know, I was reading this, and I think I've asked her to be on the air with me. I thought that you know, some of the class might be interested in hearing her thoughts and her opinions. And I've asked her to be on the air with me, and she says, you know, no way, she will not do it. And even at the meetups, like she may be ready to burst with a comment she would like to make, and I'll walk up to her with the microphone and I'll say, please share that, and she'll instantly. She won't say a word. I mean, she seriously, only maybe once or twice in 2 years have I ever heard her say anything at the meetup. And a couple times at the microphone when she just couldn't stand it. She had to say, and it was very short, and it was probably something about me. But seriously, it's impossible, right, to get her to speak publicly.
Yeah, she doesn't talk much at the meetings, at least not to everybody at once.
Right. I mean, she'll sit down with the instructors. She'll sit down with the class, the students, and she'll enjoy spending time with them. But on the microphone, no. So we're talking about New York City now. Linus, the lifestyle is different from your lifestyle and mine compared with those in the city. What you saw. Did people have food in their homes? Did they have cans? And here's what I'm saying. For example, if it's on sale, let's say cans are 2 for $1 vegetables, I'll show up with my pickup truck, okay? And I'll say, okay, well, how about 6 cases of green beans, 6 cases, that ought to be a good start. 6 cases of corn, that ought to be a good start. 12 cases of baked beans, that ought to be a good start. That's the way I shop for our family. Okay, did you see anything remotely like that there? And I'm not exaggerating, class. I'm not.
No, well, there's no room. I mean, like I said, their houses are a lot smaller. They don't have the room, or the barn or the shed or things like that to put extra stuff like that, or whatever. I mean, when I got there, a lot of the food had been destroyed in their kitchens, but I can tell by the size of their kitchens and everything that, a lot of them, there's no room for a lot of extra food. So, no, they don't shop like we do. Like I was saying, the little markets that they have, all over the place, half a gallon of milk, here's a pound of ground beef, and, whatever. Okay, there's dinner for the night, and we'll maybe see you tomorrow night for day number 2. It's just a different way of shopping. Or like here, like you said, we buy in bulk here, buy gallons of milk and, 10 pounds of ground beef and freeze it and have an extra freezer. And you don't see that as often in the city like that. Yeah.
There's a movie with Steve Martin. He plays a mafia witness protection guy, and they relocate him to the country, and he goes to a supermarket for the first time, and he's stocking up, and he's pushing this shopping cart, and he can barely get enough traction. This thing is so heavy and overloaded because he got the pricing gun, and he went to the meat department and he priced all these cuts of meat at 39 cents a piece. And it was stacked to overflowing, and he's like, couldn't get traction. The cart was so heavy. But that's kind of like me when it's on sale. I buy a lot of it because I know we're going to eat it. Really, I know it. It's 100% certainty that we are going to eat it. And why buy it at 89 cents a can when I can buy it 2 for $1. I mean,
that's
doesn't
right.
make any...
And you don't have to be a prepper to prepare for things like, I guarantee you we're going to have another Hurricane Sandy somewhere. It's a fact. We will have one. We're also going to have another Katrina. Hurricane season starts in 3 weeks, by the way. Now, you're not going to see a hurricane in June, most likely, but now's a good time to be thinking, hey, if we get a hurricane, as an example, or a storm, whatever, or an EMP, anything, it's good to have extra things on hand. I would suggest, give it, a case of water. It's 3 gallons of water. It's about $4 or $5. They come in convenient little bottles to drink out of. They're, you can buy by the gallon, gallon jugs too, a little cheaper. But either way, you do that. You put that under your bed or in the closet, in the basement maybe, where it won't flood, something like that. And same with some food, some canned food, like you said, a case of beans or, a case of chicken noodle soup, tomato soup, crackers, stuff like that will keep for, say, a year or two in the closet or under the bed somewhere, and then you can forget about it. And there you have it. In case the power goes out, you got something to fall back on, so you're not ravenous in 2 days because you're out of food and waiting for Big Brother to come help you, which may be another week after the lights go out.
Yeah.
Or something like that happens. So it's just insurance, and like you said, you're going to eat it anyway.
Well,
after a year, you rotate it, and you just eat it, and then you put new down there.
You need a manual can opener, class, and here's we're talking about the least expensive insurance that you could possibly buy. For example, if you got 12 cans of baked beans, 2 for $1, that's $6 for a case of baked beans if you can buy them 2 for $1. And we can buy them all the time here for 2 for $1. You can even buy them for less than that. So for $6, now you have 12 cans or 12 meals. Now, you may not like eating baked beans, but it'll get you through to the other side. Now, a case of water, I think it's about maybe $3, between $3 and $4 for a case of 24 bottles of water here in Missouri. So for $10 now...
by the way, doesn't have fluoride in it. So there's a plus.
Yeah, well, and right in the studio... someday I've got to take a picture of the studio here with it. I've got these 4 monitors, and right to the right of the 4 monitors it says "Fire Greg Burris, 417-864-1001," the bumper sticker, because Greg Burris is the city manager of Springfield, Missouri, and he's putting poisonous fluoride in the water. In the afternoon programs, we talk about Greg Burris, and boy, does he hate Vinny. Boy, does he hate me. Well, I'll lay off as soon as he takes the fluoride out of the water. And wait till he sees what we do. We're going to show up at City Council meeting, and it's going to be USA Prepares against City Council, and we're going to get the fluoride out of the water, whether they like it or not. So, Linus, you've been sharing that we should be prepared at some level. What was like if you could list maybe 3 or 4 things that people should have that you saw that they didn't have, what would they be? I mean, okay, so we talked about the cans of food, we talked about the water. The gas was shut off to their stoves, right?
Yes.
So they could not cook. Unless, well, even if they had electric stoves, they couldn't cook because their electricity was off, right?
Right. Yeah. A lot of breaker panels got submerged, and then you have to wait for an electrician. You can't turn the power back on. The city was cutting that off, and it's with good reason. It's very dangerous.
Yeah.
They had houses burned down because of that. After. Mm-hmm. But yeah, the things I would have, anybody should have. And by the way, go to garage sales. I find so much cheap stuff at garage sales. It's unreal. It really is. I would have some extra clothing that you don't care about, meaning it's clean, but it's not like a $50 shirt. It's just a garage sale dollar shirt. Buy some extra stuff like that, and pants and socks, and maybe a pair of work boots or something like that to keep on hand in case something if you're on foot or whatever. Of course, food and water. That way you're comfortable, and also hygiene. I would have extra toothpaste. I would have baby wipes, which you can use to clean yourself with all over your body, because there's not going to be water flowing, so you'll have to keep clean somehow, because you'll start smelling bad in about a day or two.
And did you see that, Linus?
Yes. I didn't see people with baby wipes. I saw people that smelled bad after a day or two. Yes.
Yeah, right.
And it's going to happen again somewhere. It's a guaranteed fact. So
you met Garland, one of the guys that comes to the meetup almost every single week and has for a couple of years. One day he came up and he said, "Look, I bought these," and he had a box of them, and what they were the liners for cold weather. Now, they weren't the outer. It was like a military liner that you would put inside a suit to keep you warmer. And he gave me one. It's like a jacket. And I keep it in the car, and you can roll it up. And, if I have to get under the car, it's not like I'm going to be damaging, good clothing. But it will keep me warm if I need to stay warm. And it compresses. So I think that's what you're talking about. So
in your car have stuff like that too. Keep a case of water in your car. I mean, find bottles or some Mylar or whatever, so it stays in the heat. Rotate that quite a bit in the summertime because it can leach through and taste bad. But bad to get home on. Old shirts you don't care about, put them in your car in case you have to work on your car on the side of the road sometime, or a jacket same way. Something to lay on, that way you don't tear up your nice clothing when you're out and about. Yeah.
Linus Ertley, our newest instructor. We'll be right back. Just want to let you know that your State Department has banned the plans to print 3D guns. So there's a printer that will print in plastic 3 dimensions. And on the internet was a set of plans to do that. So you could download those plans and then go to the printer and print yourself a plastic gun that would fire real bullets. Well, you can't download the plans anymore. It's banned. Our State Department has banned the information. That's something brand new. Brand new. Banning information. Your government, your out-of-control government is now banning information. Just like all the records of Nikola Tesla have been removed from the library, so it's very difficult to read his original works. Yep, they have just banned the plans to, you can't download them. Oh, man. I can't believe it. Linus Ertley's with us, and we're talking about New York City. We're talking about being prepared. We're talking about, during the first hour, Linus, you mentioned how people would get together, and you mentioned something like someone said, I know someone with a car, as if, that was unusual, right? Is it unusual to have a car in New York City?
Well, there were a lot of cars there, but at the same time, there's so many people. There's no room for everybody to have a car. Like I said, if you put 2.5 million people in the city of Springfield, there's just no room for your car.
Yeah, and the point is, Linus, you probably cannot imagine life without your own personal transportation vehicle, whether it be a car or a pickup truck. You probably can't imagine it. I certainly can't. Life would cease to exist within a couple years here on the farm without a vehicle. We're good for a couple years without being resupplied, but life in the country without a car or a truck, pickup truck, is really, really unusual. So, Linus, what else would you recommend that we take away from this class about Hurricane Sandy? So we need food, we need cans of food, we need water, we need a manual can opener, we need to make sure that we don't have to depend on electricity. Did you find that people did not have flashlights?
Well, I wasn't there when I was already gone by the time it got dark where they would need them. I saw a lot of flashlights, but it wouldn't surprise me if a lot of folks didn't have flashlights. I'm sure a third of the people out there don't have a flashlight, or at least they don't know where it's at right away, and if it even works. As far as there's so much more to talk about that we didn't get to today. I know we're almost out of time, but
we can do it again.
Oh yeah, that'd be fine with me anytime. Build a kit, get a plan, and have a backup.
Yeah, a backup.
Really.
And Linus, when you and I were chatting about this prior to the broadcast, you were talking about your fuel tank in your vehicle. Now, it has an E for empty. It's got a 1/2 for half full. It's got an F for full. How do you look at your fuel tank as a result of this?
Well, I'll tell you the quick story. We have time.
Yeah, we got about 2 minutes.
Okay, real quick. I was in Brooklyn, and it was dark, my second night going out there. And I ran up to an area where there were other adjusters and people that, had been doing it longer, so I can go there and ask questions and show them things. It's a help room. I ran up to Flushing, New York, which is just east of Manhattan, right there close. And I'm up there. I did my thing. I'm leaving, and I'm going back to the room in Newark, New Jersey area, and I'm going down by the Lincoln Tunnel. It's closed. GPS doesn't say it's closed. Mm-hmm. So I had to find a new route. So I'm routing. I'm trying to find it. I get lost. Not really lost, but I'm like, okay, where do I go? And I'm almost out of gas now because I'm driving around, and I thought, okay, I'll get gas tomorrow. I put it off. I was busy. It was kind of my fault thing, but I couldn't buy gas that day. When I was out there, my license plate it was the wrong day for my license plate in New York, so I had to go over to New Jersey to buy it, but I couldn't get out.
Almost out of time.
New York to get there.
Almost out of time.
I was almost out of gas, so right now half is the new E.
Okay, there you go. Linus, half a tank. Half a tank is the new empty. Yep. Linus Ertley, Vin Finelli, USAPrepares.com. Linus, thanks so much for being with us. Linus is our newest USAPrepares.com instructor. He's an insurance adjuster, and this is, I guess, 101. We're going to have 102 because we didn't get a chance to talk about all the things that we'd like to share with you. Class, above all, honesty and integrity. What happens next is up to you.